Good morning. I'm Pete Najarian. This is The Take on this Tuesday morning, and we kicked off the week very interestingly. I'll tell you what, we continue to have these just flowing moves in the market, and obviously we're coming off last week where we'd hit those record highs across the S&P and the Dow and the NASDAQ. The Dow yesterday, pretty interesting, the fact that it was starting off a little bit sluggish. We were down about triple digits, but that's okay. We are just coming off these new all-time highs. And then we turned, we burned, and the next thing you know, we're finishing up about 82 points for another high. That's really impressive to see how these markets have been reacting so quickly. NASDAQ, not quite as bullish. As a matter of fact, a very tight range, just kind of a very interesting day that was really more focused, it seemed, over on the Dow side of things rather than on the NASDAQ. But you look at the NASDAQ because we are going into, and we are now into, this whole technology earnings season. So this week and next, we're going to still be seeing name after name after name that's going to be very much market moving, one would think at least. But yesterday, as I say, a tighter range, did finish in the green for the NASDAQ, but just barely. As a matter of fact, crude still hanging around that 72 level. That stands out a little bit because of the fact that what was really performing best yesterday, well, energy and those energy stocks. It was the beta names like the XOP, most of the names within that category, having a very nice day. And then I talked about this yesterday, but Chevron, which was leading the Dow for the majority of the day, didn't finish up as the actual leader, but in that category in terms of the movement to the upside that we were seeing and the strength that we were seeing in that name. There's going to be a little bit of a flip as we get into today. But before we get there, materials, the other area. Take a look at what was going on yesterday with Freeport-McMoRan, up about 4% yesterday. Materials performing very nicely, up nearly 1%. And then following that, consumer discretionary. And we bring this up all the time, and Scott Wapner loves to tease me about it, but the moves that we have seen in certain names, one of which, Target, hitting another all-time high yesterday, just continues to be something to marvel at. These are stocks that continue to move to the upside. They've had long moves and they've performed very well even through the pandemic and then the post-pandemic as we're moving along. And hopefully it's a post-pandemic. We obviously know that's been a storyline as well that's been moving the markets and can be a very big market mover. The reopening trade, that was really what we were seeing yesterday, because we had names like Live Nation moving to the upside, very powerful day. Airlines, we had cruise ships, we had hotels like Marriott, all enjoying a very nice move to the upside yesterday. So that's something that stood out, is the reopen, because across the board, those names, the Carnival Cruise and all the rest, were moving to the upside, having a pretty nice performance day. Today, a little bit of a flip. We got pressure on the market, similar to yesterday. We started to rally off of that, and before we know it, we're down again. We were down 240 points just moments ago, down 130 points. Then we dropped to 190 points, just really moving throughout with the Dow pressing to the downside. And then you look over at the NASDAQ, that was down about 190 points. I think it might have recovered a little bit off that level, but we are seeing some decent pressure, triple digit pressure on both these indices early on, and it's still early on. Now, the one thing I didn't touch on was the volatility index yesterday, which was right around that 18.5 level. And today we're seeing the same type of thing, about 18.5. Looks like we're wanting to push up and through maybe that 19 level. We'll see if we continue this path to the upside, especially with the nervousness that we are seeing on the pressure on the markets that we are seeing so far. By the way, the volume yesterday, extremely low. That was a little bit surprising. Going into earnings season, going into technology and all these various names, one would think that we would be probably looking at a much more aggressive type of day. We did not see that. Finished with 31.5 million contracts yesterday, which is well off of where we've been. Impressive number, absolutely, but well off of that 40 million plus sort of category, or upper 30 million. So we definitely did slide back a little bit. The storyline yesterday, Bitcoin making that big break up through 40,000. Now it's pulled back a little bit, understandably so, back towards that 38,000 level for Bitcoin, but a really powerful day yesterday and kind of hanging on today. The 10-year still hanging just a little bit under 1.13, sort of in that sort of category right now. But the industrials early on, when I'm looking at the Dow, there was only one name that was actually still in the green early on. That was McDonald's. Outside of that, we were looking at a very, very red grouping of the Dow stocks. So that in mind, we take a look over at energy. We were strong yesterday. some weakness today. Chevron was the big mover of the large caps. It's also a big mover to the downside today. Materials about down 1.5% early on. They were strong yesterday, up over 1%. It's U.S. Steel, Freeport Mac, Alcoa, just this movement that we are seeing. I'll tell you what, industrials down about 1%, and the big leader there, Triple M. This is one of the names that when you look through the numbers, it's like a lot of what we've seen through earnings season so far. Numbers can be very, very strong, but just a few words, a sentence or two coming from the CEO or the CFO can absolutely tip things back over a little bit with any kind of cautionary viewpoint, and we'll see a little bit of pressure in that selling. And that's exactly what we are seeing in some of the other earnings. Polaris had a great earnings. Their numbers were extraordinary. They were stronger pricing. That stock yesterday up a little over 3+%. Today, down about 3% or so. Now, one that's actually holding on, I'll tell you what, when you look at F5, this is another one of these that we don't talk about as much. We used to talk about it a little bit more, but we've seen some activity of late. And I'll tell you what, their earnings call was outstanding. The strength that they put up, and that stock was moving. Last I looked, it was anywhere between 5 and about 6% to the upside. UPS, another one where great beat, a beat on the upside, beat on the downside. But some of the revenues domestically didn't look like what was projected. And so because of that, stock was down significantly, down about 8% today. Some serious pressure there. So 2 unusuals for you, and we'll get out of here. The trade desk. This was a final trade for me last week on one of the different shows. I can't remember if it was the halftime or if it was the final for Fast Money. But this is a name with we'd seen some activity last week. Stock was trading around 82. They were buying some August calls today. Stock trading now closer to 85. And we had a buyer of 9,600 of the July. Obviously, those expire on Friday, 85 calls. Right where the stock is, they're buying. We've already had a nice move to the upside, but looking for a little bit more. Those options were going anywhere between 80 cents up and over $2 for those calls. Wendy's is my number 2. Now, Wendy's pretty interesting. We're talking about what was really leading the Dow, and there was only one stock in the green early on. That was McDonald's. Well, Wendy's maybe feeding off of that a little bit. Stock trading right around 23. We had 4,500 of the August 24 calls. Those are going for anywhere between 45 cents and 50 cents for those calls. So interesting to see that, especially on the follow-up there from McDonald's. You're going to want to attend this tomorrow, by the way. We've got the strategies that you're going to want to use with the unusual options in these uncertain times. And that's something my brother John and I have been talking about for a very long period of time. We've got a great setup for you tomorrow. You're going to want to sign up for this now so that you can be a part of this for tomorrow as well. So I look forward to seeing you then. I actually look forward to seeing you tomorrow morning early with another of the take and a really busy day for me with CNBC as well. Guys, have a great day of trading.